Welcome back to the Real Estate Success Podcast. I am Jim Ingersoll, your host today. I'm excited to be with you. We have an amazing show today talking about how you can connect with motivated sellers in your local market and any other market you're looking to connect with motivated sellers in, of course. I've got a fantastic guest who's become a good friend of mine from beautiful state of Wisconsin, up near the beautiful Canadian border, and we're going to dig into direct mail. And specifically a 6-touch direct mail campaign, what it looks like, how you can build it, and how you can still be effective doing direct mail campaigns. For many, many years, I've used direct mail. I started off 10 or 12 years ago doing postcards. I used to get printed at Office Depot, and I'd get them all stamped. My mother-in-law would stamp them, and my daughters would put my return address labels on it. But nowadays, all of that is automated. And you can get a done-for-you service that all you do is create and deliver, and it's very easy. So we're going to dig into what a 6-touch direct mail campaign looks like and why you want to consider using it. Now, I also want to make sure you guys are all invited to my upcoming boot camp. We've been getting a lot of people registering recently. We've had folks from Long Island, from the West Coast, all the way from Israel, and Florida and different places getting registered. And I want to invite you to join me in person. So go to the investortrainingsummit.com, register to join me in February. I'd love to meet you, and we'll talk more about direct mail when we get there. So Zach, welcome to Real Estate Success.
Thanks for having me, Jim. I appreciate it.
So tell our listeners a little bit about what you do full-time up there in beautiful Wisconsin.
Sure. Well, we do hand-addressed direct mail marketing. Our website is yellowletterscomplete.com, and we've been doing this for quite some time now. Way back when, everything was just yellow letters, and that was when you could send one letter to a person, and you could blow up your phone. And in fact, most of our clients would limit how many letters they would send out because, quite frankly, they just could not handle the response rate. And over the years, people have figured out, hey, this direct mail marketing thing, this is pretty easy. And since it is so easy, a lot of people are doing it now. And so it's gotten to the point where people need to do something a little bit differently now in order to have success with direct mail. And so I think that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, it is. And, I was just thinking back because you and I have been doing this together a long time. I've used your services for many years. And back in like the down part of the market, I would easily get 15 to 20% response rate on my yellow letters. You remember those days?
I do, yeah. And actually, that was actually pretty typical. 15, 20. In fact, some people would get 40, 45% response rate.
Yep.
And as far as the direct mail marketing goes, it's really the way we do it. A hand-addressed invitation-style envelope. It's marketing in disguise. It doesn't look like a traditional marketing piece that might be in a number 10 envelope with a window on it, because it doesn't look like marketing. People open it up. Their guard is down when they're reading it. And you're sending it to a concise message to a targeted mailing list. You can really generate a lot of phone calls. And so we have a few different options that way for lists and a few different options that way for mail pieces.
All right, so let's dig into that. And one of the mistakes I see real estate investors make is they'll pull a list of 300 or 400 names, usually absentee, in a flooded market like San Diego, and they'll mail that out. They'll just, jackrabbit that yellow letter out there one time, and then they'll get frustrated and not mail again. The direct mail, you need to be consistent, and you've got to really commit to a longer-term process than that, which brings us to the point of what is a 6-touch direct mail campaign. Can you help our real estate success listeners understand what a multi-touch campaign really is, Zach?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a multi-touch campaign is really just like any type of advertising. You think the last time you turned on the television, how many times did you see a commercial for Geico? How many commercials have you seen for Geico? And if I think back to how many Geico commercials I've seen, I couldn't even count them all. Not only the number, but the different ones. Direct mail is really no different. And as far as that goes, I'm going to want to keep my message in front of somebody several times, over and over and over again, just like any kind of advertising. If that's on the television, that's on the radio, or if that's even a print media like a newspaper. And so repetition really is key. And as far as that repetition goes, there are several things that we need to think about. One, the type of the list that we're using, because the timing between the touches will be different depending on the type of mailing list that a person is using. You also want to think about the differences in the types of mail pieces you might send to that list.
So that is great. I love it, the way you referred it back to the Geico commercial. So that is great. So you guys, you have the distinct pleasure of providing direct mail turnkey services for literally millions of pieces of mail. So you know what is working today. And what you're seeing is the investors doing the best are doing what we call a 6-touch direct mail campaign, right?
That's correct. Yeah, the 6-touch campaign, it means exactly what it sounds like. We'll reach out to this mailing list 6 times. So if I have a list of, let's say, 500 names, I'm going to send letter number 1, letter number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So every person on that list hears from me 6 times.
Okay. Now, do you vary up? How often, like, what is the frequency of those mailings? What do you recommend that works best?
And that will depend a lot on the type of the mailing list.
Okay.
So, for example, if a person is marketing to, let's say, a notice of default list, a notice of default, that's a financially distressed list. If I were to wait, let's say, 6 weeks between each touch on a notice of default list, and I send 6 touches to that list, you're talking about a process that is several months long. By the time that person receives touch number 5, touch number 6,
too late.
It's very likely they've already moved on. Their problem is solved and they've left. So on a 6-touch campaign, the mailing list is critical as far as what that timing difference is. For example, on an absentee-owned property list. If I'm an absentee owner, what are my pain points? Well, generally, it's one of a few different things. It's interacting with the renter. That happens once a month, collecting rent. It's making the monthly mortgage payment. Again, that's a once-a-month thing. So generally, the pain points on an absentee-owned property is monthly. So you're going to want to wait about a month between touch 1 and touch 2 and touch 3, and so forth, just to make sure the owner of the property has an opportunity to experience that pain point before they get your next touch. Now, if I'm doing a notice of default list, again, if I were to wait a month and a half between each touch, that's too long. A notice of default list, maybe every 2 weeks is all you want to do. And so there's a little bit of an art form to it, depending on the type of list a person is marketing to.
And that's the key to direct mail or direct marketing. It's got to be very targeted to your audience, and you've got to be able to connect with them on their pain point. That is their motivation for calling you and for selling, frankly. So I'm glad you brought that up. Now, do you guys actually offer a notice of default list that investors can use?
Yes, we do have that. And
okay.
Generally, we're marketing to a list like that. Pulling by city or by county is the way to do it. If we were to pull by zip code, a lot of times there just aren't quite enough records available in a particular zip code. Some other lists where there are more records available, such as an owner-occupied list or even an absentee-owned property list, marketing by zip code on those is just fine because there are typically plenty of records available.
Right. Okay, so that's good. And that's a key point for all our listeners. If you've never pulled your own list, I would recommend you go to yellowletterscomplete.com. They'll help you build your list based on the exit strategy that you're trying to implement. And they'll also turnkey all your direct mail, which is really nice. You guys offer both, Zach. So with a 6-touch direct mail campaign, what would the first letter out be? Say you're going absentee and you want it to go to landlords in the middle of every month, 6 times. Would the first one be a typed letter, the second one a postcard, the third one a greeting card? I mean, what's the optimum recipe look like in your opinion?
Sure. We've got a lot of different options for mail pieces. Those options include yellow letters, letterhead letters, type letters, greeting cards, stationery, postcards. You've got an awful lot of choices. Now, what we see people doing, our successful people doing, letterhead letters, typed letters, that's really where the trend is going. Now, the first thing to consider is, what am I putting this letter in? And as far as the envelope goes, if you think about the last time you opened your mailbox, and you probably had several white number 10 envelopes with a clear plastic window on them in your mailbox. So that could be something like a bank statement. It could be a credit card statement. It could be a lot of different things. But that looks like a business mailer. We put our letters into invitation-style envelopes. So it looks like an invitation to your nephew's birthday party or a thank you card, really anything but a marketing piece. And so I would say you definitely want to use a hand-addressed envelope, legitimately hand-addressed by a person. And we do that. Now, as far as what the mail piece on the inside looks like, a letterhead letter, that could be a typed letter with your logo at the top, your contact information down at the bottom. That includes your website, it can include a phone number, it can include an email address, even a fax number or your office address. And it's pretty simple, pretty quick to make something like that. So that's the formality. And when you're coming across as an investor, really one of the best things you can do is increase your credibility. That'll help establish trust. And one way to do that is by taking a bit more formal approach. And so if I were to do a 6-touch marketing campaign, I would definitely start with a few letters. And then I would alternate postcard, letter, postcard at the end of it.
Okay, so say you were going to set them up to go out in the middle of the month, assuming the pain point is the landlord's not able to collect rent and pay his mortgage. So your first one would be a letterhead typed letter in an invitation style envelope, hand addressed, right?
Right.
So let's say that goes out. We're in the middle of November right now, Zach. So that one goes out now. So the next one would go in the middle of December, touch 2, right? Would you then change the color of the envelope? What would mailing number 2 look like?
Mailing number 2 would be similar to mailing number 1. I would use a different color envelope, like maybe a red or a green envelope, so it looks like a holiday card.
Yeah.
As far as the letter on the inside goes, if you started with letterhead, you can continue with letterhead. If you started with just a typed letter, you continue with a typed letter. I would also add a little bit more information. So the first letter is generally a message of, I'm interested in buying your property. The second letter, I'm going to add a little bit more color to that. And I'm going to do something along the lines of, here are the benefits of working with me. Now that can be, I can pay cash, I can close quickly, I can cover the closing costs, I can cover all sorts of different things like that. And those things will obviously make it more attractive to sellers to work with me.
That's a great point. So you add a little bit more motivation for them to call you, and you're going to send it out, especially if you're at the holidays, a red or green envelope for number 2. All right, so now let's say we're getting into January. This is number 3 out of 6. What would you typically see for that one? Third mailing, same list.
At this point,
this is the third time you've mailed to this list, okay?
Sure, we sent letter number 1, we sent letter number 2, now letter number 3. I might include, if I'm rehabbing, maybe I include some before and after pictures on my letter. So maybe it's a typed letter, and then down at the bottom, I have a before and after picture of a recent property I've worked on. And one of the nice things about that is people can sort of visualize their own property and say, oh, well, hey, it might look really nice after so-and-so works on it. Again, it starts to create an emotional tie for the person doing it. As far as the color combination goes, I would do something different than what I had already done. So from a seasonality perspective, if I just sent a green envelope, and addressed in black ink in January, maybe I'll use a green envelope and addressed in blue ink. Another option is to do something on stationery or even a greeting card approach. As far as the stationery goes, something with some snowflakes, something with some pine cones, and those are some things that we can put on the letter. We can also put it on the envelope. So if somebody wants to do a green envelope with a pine cone printed on it or a snowflake printed on it, we can do that. And we have a lot of examples of things like that available on our website at yellowletterscomplete.com.
That is awesome. So number 3, and I love the way that you included the before and after pictures. I think that is great. I didn't know you could. I hadn't really thought about doing that on a massive direct mail campaign, but I really like the idea. All right, so now we've done November, December, January, and we're on to number 4. It's now February. What would you recommend for your fourth touch?
For a fourth touch, I would generally go with a postcard. So
Okay.
you've sent out 3 letters. You've done each one in a different color of envelope.
Right.
All your letters have probably been type letters, maybe letterhead letters. Some people would send yellow letters for all of those. But as far as the fourth touch goes, I would go with a postcard. Now, a postcard, you're going to want to consider a few different things. One is the size of the postcard. Do you want a large postcard or a small postcard? Another, what are you doing for graphics on that postcard? Do you want a graphics-heavy postcard that has a lot of pictures on it, or would you prefer to keep it simple? Now, what we've seen people do, the successful people do, generally, bright color cardstock, dark color ink, simple, concise message. And while we can put a lot of pictures on a postcard, the more ink you use on a postcard, the more colors, the more expensive you're making it. And if you're going to spend that much money on a postcard, you might as well spend a few cents more to get an actual letter in a hand-addressed envelope. So one way to keep your costs down in a multi-touch campaign is to mix in a couple of small postcards with it, bright colored cardstock, that could be a yellow, orange, or a pink colored cardstock, concise message, bold font, clear call to action. And so that's generally what we see people do for the fourth touch.
And for our real estate success listeners today, do you have a templated postcard available that you guys like to use?
Yeah, we do. In fact, we have several of them on
Okay.
our website. Again, if you go to yellowletterscomplete.com, there's a drop down with a lot of different options for postcards. We're always updating that. And so if you were to check out there today, you'll see a handful of different options available. You go out there 2 weeks from now, and you'll probably see more options available.
The same thing is true for the typed letters?
Yeah, the type letters,
Excellent.
the yellow letters, stationary letters.
Okay.
We're always mixing and matching,
Great.
adding new things to those pages.
Excellent. All right, so now we've done November, December, January, February. We're heading into spring. It's now number 5, the middle of March 2018. So what would you recommend? So we've done 3 letters, different color envelopes and all that. Now we've done a postcard. What do we do for multi-touch number 5?
Well, I would go back to a letter. From a seasonality perspective, it's springtime. In springtime, you can use an envelope that could be a pink, could be a blue, could be a purple. Think spring flowers, right? If you're doing a stationary letter, you could print some flowers on the actual envelope. You can do it as a border around the letter.
Wow.
That can be flowers. It can be things like butterflies. It can be birds. All sorts of different things that way. As far as the mail piece goes,
That would certainly get opened. If you get an unusual envelope and it's got flowers or something like that around it, you're likely to get it opened. I agree.
Yeah, it really seems to work well. It just adds a different feel to it. That can be a letterhead letter. That can be a greeting card. So it's actually a physical greeting card that's inside the envelope. That can be just a regular type letter with a border around it. Lots of different options that way. And another thing a lot of people like to do on touch number 5 is include an insert. And that insert can be something like a business card. It can be a fridge magnet. It can even be a flow chart. It could be before and after pictures of a rehab property. Lots of different options. But one thing to consider is by the time they get that 5th touch, at this point, you're going to want to give them something they'll put on their fridge. And that's where a magnet is good, or a business card that they can, put behind a magnet on their fridge. Those are both some great options that we can include in that.
I really like the magnet idea. I've had way back when I used to mail my own before any of these automated services were available. I'd get calls a year later, and people would call me because they took my postcard and just added a magnet and stuck it on their fridge. So I do like that idea. Okay, so the final mailing, number 6. Now we've done 3 letters, we've done a postcard, and now we've done a letter or a greeting card with an insert. What do you recommend for number 6?
For touch number 6, I would go back to a postcard. And again, I would go with a bright colored cardstock. I would make that color of cardstock different from what I had used for the 4th touch.
Yep.
And a lot of times a notice, more of a final notice or urgent notice type message with an expiration date This is the last time I'm going to reach out to you. And put an expiration date on that postcard. Maybe make sure that expiration date is out about a month, just because it will take some time for the person to get it. It will take some time for the individual to think about it.
That way you create some scarcity and some urgency into your offer, which is really important. If you guys read some of the books from Robert Cialdini on influence and things, he talks about creating that urgency and creating some scarcity. And so I do like that idea, Zach.
Yeah, it seems to work really well. And then that bright color of cardstock, a lot of times that's going to stand out when it is in that mail. And when they go to their mailbox and they have several different mail pieces that are mostly white or ivory color that are the business mailers, even if it is a postcard that might be a little smaller, if it's that bright color cardstock, it'll still stand out, so they'll notice it.
So number 6. So then we've got 3 letters. Most of them are going to be letterhead typed letters in invitation style envelopes, hand addressed. And then we get into, of course, the postcard. Then we go to a letter or a greeting card with an insert, and then we end with another postcard.
Right. Yeah, that's the approach that we've really been, that's the way the trends have been going. Generally, it's a multi-touch campaign, and generally 6 touches, and then mixing, matching the different mail pieces. If I start with a letterhead or a type letter, I'll want to be consistent and continue to use a letterhead or a type letter, and then mix and match the postcards. If I start with a yellow letter, I'm going to want to stick with the yellow letter through the course of the campaign, maybe mix and match some postcards. We'll see people do yellow letters. You can add a greeting card. You can do postcards with that. On letterhead, it's difficult for me to go from a letterhead, which is a formal approach, to a yellow letter, which is an informal approach. So if I'm going with letterhead, stick with letterhead, mix and match postcards, greeting cards, or stationery with it. If I'm going with a yellow letter, I can mix and match a yellow letter with a postcard, a greeting card, stationery, but I wouldn't mix letterhead with a yellow letter.
Gotcha. All right, well, that's what's working now based on the behind-the-scenes look at millions of pieces of direct mail. And I think it's important that you do the multi-touch. I agree with you, Zach. You can't do one and done and then think that it doesn't work. You've got to commit. You've got to be committed to a process here. If you're doing like a notice of default, maybe you want to go 6 weeks in a row. If you're doing absentee, landlords, things like that, then you're going to want to go maybe once a month for 6 months. But committing to the process, I think, is really important. And you're working with investors with very large volume businesses across the country, right, Zach? And they're mailing a ton of pieces.
We are. Yeah, that's correct. Now, to your point, a consistent process-driven approach is really the key to success. Whether that's direct mail or really almost any other component in your business. But dialing in your approach, making sure that approach happens consistently is really the way to go. And whatever you can do to automate that, that's where a multi-touch campaign really comes in handy. And especially at this time of year, a lot of our larger clients at this time of year, if they've done very well this year, they've had a profitable year, they start to think, well, what can I do to minimize my tax consequence this year? And one of the things they can do, well, I can start a multi-touch campaign. I can pay for this campaign up front. Yep. And as far as that goes, I'm going to reduce my income this year by increasing my expenses. But really what I'm doing, I'm investing in the success of my business next year. And all the while, I'm going to save money on taxes because I'm doing it right now. And the nice thing about it, it'll happen on autopilot. They don't need to think about it. And then through the winter up until spring, the calls will keep coming in from that campaign.
Right on. So all of our real estate success listeners today, you're going to want to go back and listen to this again because this is a teaching content call today with Zach Ronald from YellowLettersComplete.com on exactly and precisely how you can set up a 6-touch direct mail campaign. Zach, do you have any final words of encouragement for people that are a little nervous about getting started here?
I think one of the first steps a person needs to take is identifying that mailing list. And if you have a mailing list already, no problem. We can help you out. Just give us a call or visit our website. We'll walk you through the process of here's how we'll set up that campaign. If you don't have a list, we can help you identify all this, and we're happy to spend the time that it takes to talk through that process with you over the phone. You can also just email us, info@yellowletterscomplete.com, or give us a phone call at 888-294-0780. And again, we'll walk through the process of either working with the list you have or identifying a good list of prospects in your target market. And that targeted mailing list is really the most important first step of a direct mail campaign that's successful.
Right, great tips, great tips. So go to yellowletterscomplete.com and check it out. I want to thank you, Zach, for being my guest today. It is always great to hang out with you and talk about direct mail and get these market-driven timing strategy sessions, because it has changed a lot over the last 5 years.
It has. And thanks for having me, Jim, today. I appreciate it. I always enjoy the conversation.
All right, and I want to thank all of our loyal Real Estate Success Podcast listeners. You guys are awesome. I hope you go back and listen to this again and take a lot of notes, because there's a lot of golden nuggets in this 6-step, 6-touch direct mail campaign that you're going to want to listen to. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you're going to give it a try, leave me a note in the comments. If you're listening on iTunes or iHeartRadio or on YouTube or wherever you're at, feel free to leave us a review. We always greatly appreciate that. And make sure that you come and see me in February, guys. I would love to meet you in person at the Cashflow Bootcamp. Go to www.investortrainingsummit.com. Again, I'm Jim Ingersoll with the Real Estate Success Podcast. Thanks for listening in today.